Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good?
Yep.
It's very good to hear. My name is Jeremy Theo. It's a pleasure to be asked to speak here today. Just a quick rundown of who I am. Originally, I am a TV host, I'm a radio announcer, I'm an event MC. But here today, I'm speaking as an avid esports enthusiast, a gamer, and of course, a friend of Battle Arena Malaysia, which we will get into more and more as we proceed. So we're going to be talking about video games, or more specifically, video games in an esports setting. The esports industry, through my perception, as somebody who's been a fan of gaming, a fan of competitive gaming ever since I was a very, very young boy. So before we do go any further, do we know what esports is? Does anybody here know what esports is? I see a couple of hands. If you do, raise your hands. It's very, very encouraging. Okay, so the long definition of esports, and I've got my notes here, it basically says competitive gaming in an organized format with a specific goal and a clear distinction between players and teams that are competing against each other. It's a very, very long-winded explanation. The short form of it is people playing video games competitively, and they do so to win. They do so for money, they do so for prizes, and now they do so as a job. Now, esports has become a recent buzzword in the past couple of years, but if I had to ask you to harbor a guess, what year do you think the first esports event was? Anybody want to just yell out a year as a guess? 2000? Anybody else? Okay, 2010. Okay, so it's very interesting because yes, the word esports might have come up within that 2010 spectrum that we noticed. The original story, the first recorded instance of an esports event, according to the definition, was actually in 1972, where a group of Stanford students got together, played a game called Space War, a game that is older than everybody in this room right now. And they played for a year-long subscription of, I think, Rolling Stone magazine. So that's fairly interesting. This day, though, esports, when you think about esports competitions, esports events, esports tournaments, it's not hard to imagine huge stadiums packed to the brim with roaring fans, players being cheered on like rock stars, screens, giant screens, like the ones beside me, capturing every moment of the action. The players, no longer just competitive gamers, they are esports athletes. Now, the reason for this is over the past couple of years, there has been tremendous milestones that has helped the esports industry make the leap, crossover from what is a very niche fan base, and as an example of a niche fan base, I'm going to say something like, let's say, competitive goat racing, which is a thing. And then it's moved over into the mainstream, which is like football, or it's making its way there. So what happened? What was the big reason for all of this? Well, the short and easy answer, and a very big part of it, is undeniably money. A very big part of anything's growth is money, but money is only one segment of that answer. But let's focus on the money for a bit. So in our region, in Southeast Asia, there is a game called Dota 2. Does anybody here play it? Dota 2, big game, right? So this is the thing about Dota 2. Just like football as a game, even if you're not into it, you know how it's played. Even if you've never played it, you know somebody who does or likes it. So this is an example of how the niche fan base is moving into mainstream awareness. So back in 2011, one of the largest milestones for Dota 2 was when a tournament called the International was organized. And the International was, at its time, and still is, the world's largest Dota 2 tournament. And it made headlines and waves because the prize pool for that game, back in 2011, back in the days when nobody considered esports, gamers, athletes, a viable form of contributing to your life, the prize pool was $1.6 million US. That was 2011, it's about 8 years ago. Last year, in 2018, the total prize pool for the International was 25 million USD. So you see that jump. You see how it went from 2011 to 2018, it went from 1.6 to 25 million. The biggest teams in the world play for the opportunity to be there. The champion for the international back in 2018, that team won $11 million. That's good enough to just sit on your butt for the entire rest of your life. Now, not only that, one of the biggest games to recently come out is Fortnite. And Fortnite's publisher has announced last year that they would contribute $100 million to tournaments as prize money. So I'm pretty sure you can see how people are going crazy for it. And that's a lot of money. You see, because back in the day, I had to hide my gaming habit from my parents, and I was like, oh my goodness, why? Why would we be able to ever make a living out of this? This was the dream. And what was once a secret guilty habit is now slowly turning into reality. You see, at this point, esports is an industry with a lot of potential, untapped. Europe, North America, Southeast Asia, China, they are leading the charge in esports. And as a result, I'm going to throw some numbers at you, the esports industry is growing at a rate of 30% per year. It has a global audience of 450 million worldwide, and it is projected that global esports revenue will hit 1.1 billion this year. So many numbers involved, it is mind-blowing, which is why even brands that are traditionally not into esports or gaming are getting into it. Football clubs like PSG, Mercedes-Benz, MasterCard, even governments are getting into esports because it is something to be nurtured. The potential for returns on investment is astronomical. And as with all potentials, it has to be nurtured. And all of this is because there is no better time to be a gamer. In this day and age, PCs and gaming a lot more accessible than it's ever been. Internet connections are even better than it's ever been. Accessibility is so high, and with the global average of gamers being 35 years old, more and more people are more accepting of gaming and esports as a hobby, as a passion, and most importantly, as a profession or a career to build into. The tides have shifted. Games are now a legitimate form of entertainment. Isn't just this thing that geeks do in isolation anymore, and it's become more than that. Now it's like a community event. If you finish work, you finish an exam, you go back home, you shoot up a couple of games with your friends. That's like a Thursday night futsal game. You catch the international at the Mama. You stay up at 2 o'clock waiting to catch the finals. That's like watching the World Cup. It's something to talk about. We are reaching this interesting point where acceptance is growing and the industry is growing as well. And as far as the industry goes, especially Malaysia, it has barely even begun. There is currently momentum, there is passion, but there are also challenges. For example, most of the time when we talk about esports, the focus, as of all things, is on the players and the games. But it is an industry, and in any industry, there are opportunities and roles that go beyond what you see on the surface. There are gaps to be filled, jobs that can be turned into careers, and as a quick description. So when you think about careers in esports, you can think in terms of players and teams and managers, and that's a full-on job. You train for hours on end with your team, sharpening your coordination. That's one thing you could be doing. Or you could also enter the broadcasting side of things. There are shoutcasters, hosts, content creators, journalists, all that require a certain amount of knowledge into the sport. The very same way how those dudes on Astro talk about their football. A little bit of endemic knowledge is required, passion, and the ability to execute that in an acceptable manner. Now, like with any industry that has events, there are also event sections for this. You'll require events crews, production crews. A lot of planning does go into an esports event, and esports events are a little bit different from traditional events. Very important things like coordinating between camera feeds and broadcast feeds from your computers, to a little bit of knowledge on networking and fiber optics. All of that is currently still very, very niche. And so there's a lot of room to grow. Now, if you expanded it further, there will also be crossover jobs and careers like generic sounding roles like agents, community and social managers, sales and partnerships, stuff that for the most part will require you to have a sense of the esports culture, but at the same time have enough skill to play ball with those who are not in the scene. So esports as it stands is a fledgling industry. It's young, both in the fact that it still needs to be defined in its best practices, in its fundamentals, in its infrastructures, in its systems, but it's also very young in the people driving it. And here's one of the fallacies of youth I found. When you're a little younger, it comes without a doubt that there is a lack of experience sometimes. And the young occasionally need to be guided with those who've had experience. And because it is still growing, that is where Battle Arena Malaysia comes in. You see, the esports industry will be defined by the people in it now. They're like frontiersmen on the Wild West, pushing forward into new ground. And from the outside, let's talk a little bit about what Battle Arena Malaysia is. Take a look behind me, right? Battle Arena Malaysia looks like a cyber cafe, and it's a very, very nice one. It's 17,000 square feet of high-end gaming. There are 100 PCs of the best spec you can find. It can hold up to 400 people. It's Malaysia's biggest premium esports club, and it can cater to both PC and mobile tournaments. It's designed to be the biggest esports center in the region that combines cyber cafe, training facilities, and event venue all in one space. And it's also located in a very accessible part of Petaling Jaya. But if that is the body, inside, the heart, beats the mission and the reason for Battle Arena. Battle Arena exists to promote growth and recognition of esports culture in Malaysia. We want to battle misconceptions, kind of help people find their way into a career, finding a career in it. We want to help gamers and enthusiasts and fans be aware of what they could be doing in the industry, helping them fill the gaps. If you're not a good gamer, you can't be a player, maybe you do better as a community manager. Those are the roles we want to lead the way into, help, and that's how we want to help push esports in Malaysia. Which is why over the past year, besides being a venue of choice for tournaments and events, Battle Arena has organized workshops for budding streamers. And not only that, they're also an esports bootcamp. We've also come up with an education framework covering everything from healthy gaming to esports events management. And with programs like this, Battle Arena, well, we want to help set up those infrastructures that I spoke about enough. My time is up. I'm going to go very, very quickly, all right? So, effectively, Battle Arena is not just a space where the community can come together. It's a space where the frontiersmen of the esports industry will push forward and hopefully redefine the parameters in which the industry defines itself by. So, at the end of the day, I'm going to conclude. Right now, and as with gamers, there's a lot of passion. But passion needs to be channeled into something productive, and it's going to be challenging, it's also very exciting, and there's a lot of potential. And so we want to work together with anybody. If you are an investor, you want to come in, find a way to get into esports, or if you are somebody who's got an interest in it, Battle Arena Malaysia is the place to get in touch to it. And with that, I think I'm going to end my talk here. We've got a booth outside and a masterclass happening later at 4. If you want to find out more, the Sharq app has it, or just come and check out the booth. In the meantime, though, my name is Jeremy Theo. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and game on.
Thank you, Mr. Jeremy Theo.